It would be a wonderful thing, boy, if I could see some of those beautiful faces out there. That would be nice. Because it's afternoon now. Nobody has a bad hair day.
Oh, look at Jasmine's face.
Yeah, okay. That's what you think? Okay.
Right? Some of us, our faces are still falling into place, Michael.
Okay. All right. Miss Simone.
Miss Cruz.
Ain't nobody on there.
Yep, it's gonna come on.
Okay. Dude, come on, man.
What's this?
What do you think, Mike? Should I go ahead and get started?
That's what I'm listening to.
Yeah.
James, you gotta get on the tablet, man. Come on, let's go.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. If you're not on mute, we're going to go ahead and get started. So if you put yourself on mute for just a few minutes here as we start the next level. I'm so excited to have everybody here. I know that the entire Pathstone team and Mr. McCarley are excited you're here as well. So a special welcome to anybody who's new to the Pathstone programs. And we're excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us. And another special welcome to all of our boot camp graduates. I see a lot of you on here today. So welcome, graduates of Boot Camp for Startups from Pathstone Enterprise Center. Woo!
Woohoo!
That was I'll tell you, that was, again, the highlight of my time so far here in Buffalo was that graduation and that whole series. So I'm excited to have you guys here. And the next level is the next step in this programming. So we are now excited to have you guys here and take the next step in your business ownership and entrepreneurship journey. And we have a great curriculum for you guys, and of course, a great presenter in Mr. Michael McCarley, who I'll be passing this off to in just a few moments. But I want to welcome everybody and get everybody excited for what we're getting ready to do here. So let's go ahead and just kind of get into it. Before we get started, there's always some rules of engagement we want to follow. Things like, hey, if you're, first off, you should know that we are recording everything. So if you don't want your face to be seen on a recording, you can feel free to turn your video off, but otherwise we'd love to see your face. And but we will be recording this, and it will be made available within a few days after the webinar. And you'll get that in an email, and it'll be available on YouTube. So also the biggest thing we want to kind of get across here is that engagement is the biggest thing for these classes. Anybody who's gone through Pathstone workshops and programming before knows that we encourage engagement. We ask for as much engagement as we can possibly get. And the best way to do that typically is through the chat feature there at the bottom of your screen. It's for some it's at the very top. Most of us have the chat feature in the middle of our screen. Please use that throughout the day, throughout each workshop session. And we'd love to, if you have questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to put in that chat to engage with me or a member of the Pathstone team or Mr. McCarley or even your fellow classmates. Take some time to do that. And during the presentation, everybody will be muted. But if you have a question and maybe you're not comfortable putting it in the chat, maybe you're much more comfortable saying it out loud, please feel free to unmute yourself and then ask the presenter, whether it's myself or Dion or Jahida or Mr. McCarley, you can feel free to ask us those questions out loud as well. So if you are going to speak, we ask that you use a headset if that's available. It helps cut down on some of that static behind you and around you. We all have things going on. Most of us are at home, working from home. So I know that there's a lot of kind of background noise that is just natural in the house, but a headset helps cancel that out. And if you're not speaking, we ask that you do keep yourself muted because of that same kind of background noise. So we want to talk about a few things before we get started in today's today's class. The first is that Tech Talks is currently underway as well. And Tech Talks is a great series where you business owners can come in and learn about how to use technology to be a little more modern in their business, how to use technology to help grow their business. And typically those are on Wednesdays, but the next few we have are on Thursdays. This Thursday and then next Thursday, we will both of those days we'll be talking about social media and how you can use social media to build your brand and interact with your customer and really grow your business. So keep an eye out for those Tech Talks. We will have the registration links in the follow-up email to this class. And then so the next 2 Wednesdays after those, we'll be talking about website development and content management with Mike Warren, and those are also done in Tech Talks. The next level, this series is every Monday from 12 to 1:30. So please come back next week. We have 12 weeks of class. We'd love to have you all here for all 12 of those weeks, or any of those weeks you can attend will be great. The next level, we will continue to grow as entrepreneurs and small business owners throughout this class. And another thing that we don't have in here, but I do want to touch on, is our small business forums. A lot of you attended those small business forums that we had every other Friday. Those are coming back in October. So October 2nd, for anybody who is interested in starting a nonprofit, or you work in a nonprofit, you want to know about nonprofit management, and but really for those who want to start and run their own nonprofit, we're going to have a great panel of experts on October 2nd at 11 o'clock to learn about. They're going to come in and speak to us about how to start a nonprofit, what the challenges are, what the benefits are, how to formulate your mission and find a board of directors. And then they're also going to engage directly with you, and we'll have some Q&A time available there as well. So if you have any questions about any of those programmings, please feel free to reach out to us directly, either in the chat or through our email there at packy@pathstone.org. And as many of you know, for boot camp, we had a great kickoff to that, and that was Mr. Duncan Kirkwood, and Duncan's with us today. So for a few minutes here, I want to pass it off to Duncan and let him talk about what he's got going on. And Duncan, it's your floor, man.
Awesome. What's happening? I love it when they say, Duncan, it's your show. It's your floor. Let's go. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Dion, should I do like a little mini icebreaker type of thing to get the energy going? I know we're about to do business and money and stuff. What you think?
Hi, Duncan. Good morning. I think that would be a question for Michael.
Michael, can I take 2 minutes to do an icebreaker, Michael?
Go for it.
Okay, listen up, y'all. This is how we're going to do it. This is going to be fun. I'm going to share my screen, and it's a sentence on the screen. All I want you all to do is count how many letter F's, F as in Franklin, how many F's are in the sentence. That's all you got to do. Now, I would love if y'all come off of mute. I mean, not off of mute, excuse me, or turn your cameras on. I know they said you don't have to. We're recording it. We live on Facebook, but you know, we don't nobody want to look at a bunch of black squares with names on them and random numbers. We want to see those faces. We want the energy. All right. So I'm about to share my screen, and then nobody say the answer. Just count the F's, and then I'm gonna come back, and then we'll have people put their guesses in the chat. So don't do nothing. Just count them for now. All right. This is for everybody. The presenters. Somebody's got to give me permission to share my screen. So Dion, can you make me a co-host real quick? And then right after that, we'll talk about this $1,000 social media competition for small businesses in Buffalo that we got. So if you're a business in Buffalo, Rochester, anywhere in Western New York, is it Ohio, Dion? Is that the other state? No, Pennsylvania. Okay, so if you're in Pennsylvania and New York, we got this social media competition as well. All right, but I'm about to share my screen. All you're doing is counting the letter F's. All right, here we go. Get ready, y'all. Bam, I'm gonna give y'all 30 seconds. Here we go. Remember, don't say the answer out loud. Just keep it to yourself for a moment. Got 15 more seconds. All right, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so now what I want you to do is come off of mute. I need everybody to come off of mute. If I want you to say, yes, that's me. If you counted that sentence and you believe
Okay,
that there are 2 letter F's in the sentence, if you only found 2 letter F's, say that's me. Okay, what about 3?
That's me.
All right, say it loud. That's right.
Hold on now.
That's me.
Okay.
That's me.
Okay. Now, did anybody find 4 letter F's in that sentence?
That's me.
Did anybody find 5 letter F's in that sentence?
That's
That's
me.
That's me.
Did anybody find 6 letter F's in that sentence?
That's me.
Did anybody find 7 letter F's in that sentence? No? Okay. So the answer is, y'all can go back on mute because we got a lot of background noise. But the answer is there are 6 F's in that sentence. 6 F's. So for y'all who said 3, 4, 5, there are 6 letter F's. Here's the purpose of the exercise. Listen up. A lot of times we only kind of pay attention to stuff. We only kind of focus in on stuff, right? And so when you kind of focus in, you kind of get it right. So with this next level series, what we want you to do is all the way focus. We want you to lean all the way in, ask a bunch of questions. That chat should be booming. Oh, I like that. Oh, I never knew that. What about this? Questions. You got to really lean in if you want to really get something out. Does that make sense? Can I get thumbs up from the 4 people that's got the camera on? Y'all with me? All right. So thank y'all for your time. Listen, now for those, put yes in the chat if you're going to participate in the social media competition. Just put yes in the chat if you're going to be in the competition. Small business social media $1,000 competition. Okay. Yep, put yes in there. So this is how it's going to work. It's a 1-week competition from today to the next level on next Monday. All right. What you're going to do is you are going to, so immediately after this call, or even while you're on the call, but immediately after this call, you're going to email Yahira. Yahira, can you put your email in the chat, please? You're going to email Yahira. 1, you're going to send her a picture of your business, yourself, or your logo, right? What image do you want to represent your business and the name of your business, okay? So that's what you're going to send her, a picture of, so for me, I'm a speaker, so I would have a picture of me and then the name of my consulting company, all right? If I sold laundry, or if I did laundry, I would have a picture of some laundry and the name of my business or my logo, okay? So you're going to email her your business picture and the business name. The second thing you're going to do is, she's going to then email you tomorrow or tomorrow morning. We're going to put it to work. So we'll say tomorrow morning, she's going to email you and say, we are good to go. Once she does that, you can go to all of the 6 Papstone pages. That's but Biz Up Buffalo on Twitter, Biz Up Buffalo on Instagram, Biz Up Buffalo on Facebook, Papstone Enterprise Center on Twitter, Papstone Enterprise Center on Facebook, Papstone Enterprise Center on Instagram. And we're going to post your picture on all 6 pages. So if my name is Jasmine Hardy, I'm going to have my business posted on 6 different social media pages. Okay. So now when Yahira emails you and say you're good to go, that means you got to start sharing with your friends. Hey, go to the Papstone page and like my picture. Go to the Papstone's Twitter and like my picture. It's that simple. So now listen, you have to, for their vote to count, they have to follow the page and like your picture. So if my name is Lamar and my brother is going to support me, he going to like the Papstone's Twitter. And he going to like my picture on Papstone's Twitter. That's 1 vote. Then he going to like the Papstone's Instagram, follow that. Then like my picture on the Papstone Instagram. That's another vote. Y'all get what I'm saying? Real simple, okay? Here's the thing. If Lamar's brother is like, oh, there's a bunch of businesses on here I'm trying to support. So he liked the Papstone Instagram page and then like 5 pictures. Well, Lamar, you better go back and tell your brother to unlike them pictures because he just voted for those other businesses. Yeah, does that make sense, y'all? Yeah, you can use your logo. Yes, you can. So then Sunday, me and Yahira are going to go back through and count all the likes. And whoever got the most likes is going to get $1,000 of technical assistance services for their business. That's one-to-one coaching on your website, on marketing, on getting your finances together, like $1,000 worth of vendor support, social media, branding, all of those things that go into running a business. You're going to get one-to-one coaching from the Papstone technical assistance providers. If you in second place, we got 2 second place prizes. 2 people going to get $500 of business coaching. Okay? So just to recap, and then I'm going to shut up and turn it to the presenter. I'm sorry, I know this was more than 2 minutes. So to recap, immediately after this call, you're going to send your logo or your picture or an image that you want to represent your business and the name of your business to Yahira. All right, her email is in the chat, so make sure y'all get that down. She's going to email you tomorrow and say, okay, we're good to go. And that means that your picture has been loaded on all 6 Papstone pages, and you will then start to go ahead and get people to kind of like your picture. Now, please put yes in the chat if you understand. If you compete in the competition and you understand what I just said, put yes in the chat. Give me a thumbs up. Give me some type of affirmation that it was clear what I just said. Who is going to win? Is any of y'all feel like, oh, I'm about to go get that money? Is any of y'all like, oh, I'm about to go get that? My business is going to the next level. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Some people just like, yo, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so with that, I'll turn it over to our presenter, Mr. McCarley. Thank you for the time. Good luck, good luck, good luck, y'all.
Right. Good morning, everybody. Adam, was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think we are. I think we're actually good to go. I think the next thing to do is to hand it off to you, Mr. McCarley, and get things started on session 1 here in Next Level, the mind of business.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can everybody hear me? Give me a thumbs up or something, or at least mark yes in the chat. Cool, cool. All righty. Now, this is again, a different level. We're taking it up a notch. I forgot to tell everybody if you needed to bring a bottle of aspirin, you might want to have it on the side and some cold water to drink afterwards. But I'm going to stretch the mind a little bit. Not today in the introduction, but what we're ultimately going to talk about are some small things I want you to consider, which are lead-ins to the rest of the series. Next week, we're actually going to talk about your story, and we're going to actually kind of concentrate a lot on that. So next week, I'm going to really ask that we get some participation for the attendees themselves. Then we're going to talk about some numbers. And then the following week, we're going to talk about the market. So the general idea here in the beginning is to actually take a look at why you're doing what you're doing. And to understand, how many of you are aware and familiar with NAICS? Give me a thumbs up. Identify it in the chat. That's your North American Industry Classification Codes. I got 1 person who knows what NAICS is, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got 33 people on here, and I got 5 people who know about it. Okay, we're going to have to definitely work on that piece, because by the end, you will definitely know what that is. Because using the NAICS and using its code as a matter of definition actually helps to simplify, quite honestly, what also is a description of your business and what you do. But we want to take a look at, why did you start what you wanted to start? Then we ultimately are going to move into next week. Do you have any idea about how much it costs to do what you're going to do? Now, if you're a new business, you're going to have a slightly different set of numbers than anybody who's already existing. But in all of that, one of the pieces that a lot of people don't necessarily get or understand is we're going to kind of talk about the marketplace versus your specific market, and whether or not there's a large enough part of your market to actually satisfy those costs associated to the business. So is everybody with me so far? Yes, no, maybe? All righty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. or even better, I'm gonna share two things here. While I'm bringing this up, I do have an interesting question. And Adam, you can kind of count these numbers for me while I bring this up. How many individuals have actually or have been in business for at least 5 years? Can people let us know what's going on? How many people have been in business for at least 5 years?
I see just one on that, Mike.
Only got one, so everybody is less than 5 years. So everybody actually on this webinar technically is making less than $5 million a year. Is that correct? Jasmine, you are hilarious. Less than 5 million. Okay, it's kind of important only because there's kind of a different angle that's actually taken. All righty. So can everybody see what I see? Give an indication, because I don't want anybody to actually miss anything here.
Yes, we can see your screen, Michael.
Okay, good. So let's get this show started. So this is a start to a brand new day. The question here gets to be, is this a sunrise or a sunset? Put it in the chat. Is this a sunrise to you, or is this a sunset? Okay, sunrise, sunrise, sunrise. Got a sunrise. Good. And this is exactly what it is. Now, can never be both. Can never be both. And I'm going to tell you why. When it's both, you're actually polarized. So the issue of do you go left or you go right, you actually pause to make a decision because you're afraid to make the wrong choice. I'm going to tell everybody now, if you haven't been told already, do not be afraid of making choices. They may be right, they may be wrong. But if you do not actually begin to engage in the choice that you've made, you will never have an idea of whether or not you're going in the right direction or not. You have to take a chance. Being in business is all about risk, all of it. Every decision you make, financial, operationally, whether you, if you're going to hire or fire a relative, you have to make a choice. And that choice is supposedly for what is in the best interest for the growth of your company. It has been said, and more often than not, friends and family will make you broke faster than anybody else, because individuals that don't actually know you, they're not really clear on where you stand. Friends and family assume because they know you, they think that they can do whatever they want. And the reality is, this is, and I hate to sound cruel, this is my money, my business, and I want it run a certain way, period, end of story. Okay. So as long as everybody kind of agrees with that, of course, I'd appreciate that. Can I get a thumbs up on it? All righty. Now, one of the things that will happen for each of the pieces for the next 12 weeks is I want to know where you stand. More interestingly, I want you to know where you stand. And where you stand is actually based on these particular categories. And the categories primarily are: where are you mentally? Where are you physically? Where are you financially? And where are you spiritually? Not everybody's stuff is going to be the same, but I do want to make you aware that I want you to be honest with this particular choice, because this is for you. This is so that you do better, so you know better. So on a side piece of paper, just put MPFS and put numbers 1 through 10. Now I'll tell you, 1 means it's a total suck fest, okay? It's just that simple. And 10, you're at the top of your game in each one of those categories. And what this is, if you do it week by week and you're really honest with yourself, not day by day, that's way too much, but week by week, just to see, is anything actually getting better? Is something actually falling a little shy? Do you need to actually work maybe on something else? Actually, next week, I'll get into a bigger definition of what potentially the mental state should be, or how you should be sometimes physically, financially, where you're at. And spiritually is not necessarily religious, but I'll get in again that explanation next week. Has everybody got that done? Give you about another minute or so to complete it for yourselves. And please be honest with yourself. All righty. Got about 15 seconds left. All right. And I want you to take a look at those numbers, okay? You can also additionally just add them up, because a lot of times there may or may not be small changes individually in the segments, but also the total figure is enormously helpful. So I have a question. Does 1 + 1 = 3? And if so, when? And individuals can actually unmute themselves if they want to answer this.
When you're synergizing.
What's that?
When you're synergizing.
Okay. Anybody else? 1 + 1 = 3. If so, when?
Partnerships and collaboration.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Got a lot of shrugging shoulders. Come on, people. When in your life has 1 + 1 = 3? What do we got in the chat here? Because you are not by yourself. Yes, that is a perspective that you should definitely keep in mind. Yes, Krista, that is another one. Actually, that's classified as a community perspective. Lamar, same thing. Let me help you guys out a little bit. Now I'm getting a lot of the community perspective. Yes, husband and wife, pregnancy, kids, which are a result of 1 + 1 = 3. This is a definition that I came up with a while ago. And since that time, I've also found another one, which I think is kind of interesting. But the relative ideal here is simply this. It's meant that as an entrepreneur plus another entrepreneur create a dynamic presence. Again, one entrepreneur plus another entrepreneur create a dynamic presence. In graphics, apparently 1 + 1 = 3. When you have children, 1 + 4 = 4. Oh, you have twins. See? Even more, a dynamic presence has been created there. One of the other definitions I actually found had a lot to do with, in graphics, you have 3 elements that actually exist. There's your foreground, your background, and that which is supposedly immediately observed. And sometimes it's actually considered a little confusing. And so a lot of times when I read that definition, I also, I guess, want to say to you guys, when you're actually creating websites or someone's creating them for you, really have a clear idea of what it is that you want seen or what it is that you want to show. That it's not really cluttered. That, you know, the font print by size as well as by color can be read and or seen, unless of course you're putting in small print, you know, like most contracts have. So please keep that in mind. But 1 + 1 do equal 3. Now, how many individuals know about Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Give me a thumbs up or mention in the chat. Got 35 people on here. Come on, let me see what we got. Yeah, okay. Robert Kiyosaki in the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Network marketing, yes, is definitely, it's a great facilitator in network marketing. And some people, they have not, okay? I have a thing called a reading list. And Rich Dad, Poor Dad is one of the items that I believe you should put on the reading list. Robert Kiyosaki is Hawaiian. His father became the chancellor for the Hawaiian school system. He was classed as the poor dad. Robert also had a rich dad, a young man that he went to school with. That young man's father actually became Robert's rich dad. He was in business. He had not actually finished school, but I actually made a comment one day to someone that, quite honestly, this book could have actually been written by someone of color. Of course, I was actually then corrected and said, unfortunately, many of us don't actually have quote unquote rich dads. So, be that as it may, please read the book. There's a lot of stuff which is actually in that book that I think is enormously helpful for anybody in business, whether you're selling a service or they're selling a product. By the way, offhand, and I want people to come off mute, can somebody tell me what the difference is in selling a product versus a service? Anybody?
Service is what I provide, like landscaping. Service is what I provide, like landscaping. Everything else, items and stuff.
You sell Lamar, you sell no products as a part of your landscaping?
No, I sell trees and stuff along with it. If people need trees and shrubs and grass, but those are the products. I don't actually have the products myself. I have to go to the vendor to get them.
Yeah, well, no, that's fine. But I want you to begin to start saying you have product and you also have services. Your services is a physical work. The product are those items that you're adding to it. Like you say, trees as an example. So you have both. Ebony, what were you going to say?
I was going to say the difference between products and services is, like, for instance, one of my services is that I help most of my clients get on Google My Business and different things like that. But the actual product that I have is like I do physical things like business cards, flyers. Those are products. Products is it goes both ways though, because you can type something up for somebody and that can still be a product that you offer as well as a service.
No, I'm gonna give you a separation.
Ebony.
If you happen to type up something for somebody, okay, you are technically providing a service because you're actually engaging in the work platform to produce an end result for somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
but on paper is not necessarily classified as a product per se. Okay,
Okay.
you are providing a service in that particular case. Now, if you're doing cards and things of that nature, physical items that you are actually selling, and then you're adding something to it, now that would actually be a product.
Okay, I get it.
Okay.
I understand.
Okay.
I like to say service is being tangible and the product could be intangible. As a difference between the two.
I consider the product more tangible. It's something you grab, you touch, you see, you feel.
And the service can be intangible.
Services might be intangible, but you know the big thing? The service is something that you are physically doing for the client.
Correct.
They're not doing it at all. They may make a request for it, but they're not doing it at all. And products have a tendency of being items that we sell that people use. So it could be food, it could be cleaning products, it could be trees, grass product, anything else like in Lamar's case. So there are subtle differences, but the reality comes out to be we do both. We provide a product and a service a lot of times in what we sell. And we need to be very clear on that because you also have to take a look at what exactly is making me money. Is my service making me money? Or is my product actually making me money? And we'll talk about pivoting in one of the later sessions. But pivoting becomes enormously important in deciding exactly what direction you might want to go in. Now, this next slide is actually from Robert Kiyosaki's Cash Flow Quadrant. And you will notice there's the employee. You have a job. The S underneath it is you own a job. The business owner is someone who owns a system and people work for you. And the I is actually for investor and your money works for you. In life, this is normally how a pattern might actually occur. You're an employee and you have a job, but you're not happy with your job. And you really think you can make more money by working for yourself than working for your particular employer. So you go out there and you do what a lot of you have done is you actually became self-employed. But being self-employed, all you did was own a job. Now, there's nothing wrong with that per se. You have a little more control over what actually happens. But there is another concept in play, which is actually presented by Michael Gerber. It's called E-Myth. And E-Myth Revisited is actually the second book he wrote. And that is my second book on the reader list. It's E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, Gerber. So you can go from owning a job to actually creating a business or being a business owner. The issue gets to be a lot of people don't know how to do that because a lot of people, what they do not know how to do is interact with other people to have them as employees to work for you so that you can actually begin to work on the business instead of being in the business. And normally most individuals that are actually business owners, if they generate enough revenue to have enough profit, they become an investor. And an investor is a good thing. Sherelle, you wanted to know the title of the book. It's called E-Myth Revisited. And I see some of you have actually read the book, which is also a good thing. So now there's actually, there's an African gentleman who actually does or did a lot of like what I do now, which is general consultancy, and ended up establishing a capital company. And it was very interesting because I accidentally came across him looking through YouTube. His earlier stuff I like better than some of the newer stuff. COVID, like I say, created some really interesting changes in people's platforms. His last name I could never spell. His first name is Vusi, V-E-S-I, Thimobonyu. All I can remember off the top of my head is T-H-E-M, I think it's B-Y, and then like several other letters after that. But normally if you put Vusi, T-H-E, it'll come up in Facebook of who I'm actually talking with. And one of the things that was very interesting about what he did, he would go to different cities in South Africa, or in Africa generally. And when he went to the cities, one of the things that he required was the fact that he would be able to hold pretty much like a small session with the town folk about some of the stuff to actually engage in their businesses. Interesting individual. Most of the stuff that he's actually said, I just shake my head and I'm like, wow, this sounds like the kind of stuff that we're trying to push forward here in Buffalo. But it's a definite mindset. I mean, he was educated in the UK, which also, by the way, is an interesting perspective. Brits have a real interesting way of presenting stuff and doing business like business. So like I say, if you look up Vusi, if you actually get E-Myth Revisited and actually read that book, and of course, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Michael, how do you spell the gentleman's first name? The African.
B as in Victor, E-S-I.
F like Frank or S like Sam?
S as in Sam.
Huh.
Though I
Okay.
didn't know how to spell the rest of his last name, I'm actually putting the first spelling of his name in the chat.
And you said you said he wrote, what's the title of his book?
Actually, he has two books. I didn't necessarily mention the titles because what I found is you can't get hard copies of the book. You have to get them on, it's one of the, it's not Nook. It's one of the other reader platforms. Unfortunately, it's not one that I have. I mean, I was a little disappointed because I think I'm going to actually write him to see how I can get a hard copy of his book. But he actually has two of them. But if you actually, he actually has a website. It was funny, he talked about the creation of his website. He has two. He has one which is specifically for South Africa, and he has another one which is actually for the UK and the United States.
Do you know what the websites are? I can't find anything. Someone mentioned VesiCash. VesiCash was founded by another African man called Ibrahim Oladele.
Right.
So that's not the person that
That's not,
Michael.
that's not the
I
one
just
I'm
put
talking about.
I put his name in the chat. I've heard him
Okay.
before. His name, I just put it in the chat, and so did Simone. We both put his name in the chat.
Thank you, ladies.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes. I spelled them wrong, didn't I? I said VS. That is my mistake. It's
That's all right,
VU.
Mike. I got you. I knew who you were talking about.
Thank you. So if you actually can type him in, his stuff will actually come up. And like I say, his perspective is the issues that they're going through in Africa are very similar, quite honestly, to what we go through in this country. And again, you got to check it out. Okay, but anyway, let me move forward. This time is everybody's money here. Now you'll actually notice the screen that I have now. Does everybody see it? Got a bunch of percentages on the top. Got a bunch of numbers on the bottom. Got employee, self-employed, business owner, investor. One of the things that Robert Kiyosaki kind of talks about is normally the tax impact of the kind of business you go into. So as an employee, you're actually probably paying about 40% in taxes overall. When you're self-employed, And normally we're talking 1099ers or DBA, and actually sole owner LLC is another one that falls into this category. You potentially are paying up to 60% in taxes. Now, one of the things that's also interesting about that 60% number is the fact that, with the exception of maybe the LLC, you are paying an obnoxious amount of money, state and federal government, to actually strictly stay as a DBA, or just I'm a 1099 or I'm a gig worker. I even now I'm starting to tell people, if you're going to establish or you're about to grow just a little bit in the business, you might consider taking a look at establishing either an LLC, a limited liability company, or a subchapter S. And I want you to realize that LLC is just that, it's a company. It's not a corporation. And as a company, there are some interesting things you can do, one of which is you can put yourself on the books. Ultimately, if you employ other individuals, your tax liability actually begins to reduce itself dramatically. This is why, as a business owner, the taxes which are actually put into play are much less, because you have employees. And so, yes, employees are a cost, but employees also are a benefit. Now, the subchapter asset I just mentioned, Simone asked about it. What a subchapter S is, it's not a C corporation, which is traditionally the top of the list. Subchapter S actually allows the profits that exist in the company to pass through your personal taxes, as opposed to, quote unquote, the company technically being responsible for the taxes. That's one of the biggest differences. Subchapter S is a lot like having an LLC. Whatever you make as a profit is not identified separately and therefore is pegged to the company. It actually passes through to your personal taxes and technically reduces potentially the overall tax liability that you actually have as an individual. But the tax session is another session for another day. One of the things that will happen in one of the later sessions is I'll actually have a slight discussion about what a DBA is, which many people are, what an LLC can potentially be for individuals, what a subchapter S is, and what a C corporation actually is. So just keep that in mind for the future. Yes, Simone, I mean, Sydney, that's true. S corporation, in fact, does have a limited number of chairs. However, there is a change that exists that will allow an individual as a subchapter S to actually put out more shares than are initially issued by the state. And Manon, you said your accountant advised you to fill the tax as an S corporation. Is there a difference? Yeah, there's a slight difference in the well, if you're a sole owner LLC versus you're a sole owner S corp, technically from a tax perspective, there's not a lot of difference. Now you'll notice I have numbers on the bottom of the screen. The numbers on the bottom of the screens are technically really where you're at as a matter of personal value. So as an employee, you're a -1. It is enormously difficult for individuals as an employee to actually end up becoming a business owner or an investor strictly because they happen to work a job. It takes a lot of money and a lot of access to resources that traditionally come about as being self-employed. So it's far easier as a self-employed individual to become a business owner and therefore potentially become an investor, unless, like I say, you happen to have inherited your money. And Simone made a very interesting comment, and it's very true. Not all tax accountants know the specifics associated with the particular establishments of companies, either being LLC, Subchapter S, C Corp. And I actually ran into somebody that had no idea of how to do taxes for a DBA, which is the easiest. So it behooves you to actually do a little reading on some of this stuff so you have an idea. So the best way of selling something, of course, is being able to create a value proposition. And what is creating value? In simplest terms, it's delivering on what you promise. If you say you're going to do something with regard to a customer or a client, you better be able to deliver on it. But that delivery process in and of itself is 75% of everything else that goes into play. So I'll give an example. In value creation, again, if the business does not create the value for the customer, then pretty much what you're operating as a hobby. So if you can't deliver on what you're actually doing, pretty much you're playing around with people and pretty much playing around with yourself. So the question you have to ask is, are you really creating something that people will actually pay for? Which is a back end question, by the way. I've run into a lot of people, oh, I have a great product, I have a great service. And then I have to ask them two interesting questions. Number one, how are you getting paid? Number two, is the person or persons that you're actually dealing with, will they pay you? So keep this in mind, okay? When it comes to marketing, how well are you attracting and holding attention? If the business is poor at marketing, then it will become a flop. With the sales, do they believe and trust you? If the business does not sell at value, again, the ability to actually deliver, they believe you're going to do that. They trust you're going to be able to do that. Then technically you're working as a not-for-profit, because the issue gets to be, if you're not delivering after a while, quite honestly, people are going to stop dealing with you, or they're going to find ways of how not to pay you. Again, that delivery question. Are you exceeding a customer's expectation? Does anybody know what made Amazon so famous? Anybody? What made Amazon so famous? You can unmute.
Fast delivery.
Anybody else?
I was gonna the 2-day
They
delivery.
had the unique perspective of having the actual manufacturer or service provider delivered to the actual customers instead of them doing it. They were actually the middleman, but they actually brought the customers and the buyers and sellers together, and they had the sellers actually do the work instead of them.
I also got an answer. I'm sorry, go on. I got somebody to mark convenience, customer experience. What made Amazon famous, yes, was associated with regard to its ability to deliver, but it wasn't just the aspect of delivering. If you notice before COVID, they had an estimated date when your item that you purchased would actually be at your door, and it would show up a day or two early. That's the wow factor. Oh, it's supposed to be coming this particular day. Oh no, it's here actually earlier. Woo! Now, of course, if you can't deliver as you expect, people are going to seriously start thinking that you're doing a scam, especially considering the fact that we have a tendency of paying for the products and services we have before we get them. And finance, are you making more money than you're spending? I know somebody said to me, oh, that's common sense. But I said, is it really? If you don't know your numbers, how are you going to know whether or not you're making more money than you're spending? More interestingly with that question is the fact, are you really making enough money to spend? Change in verbiage, but enormously important. Are you making enough money to spend? Because if you're not, the business will close. So one of the things most people are not really introduced to, and I'm going to introduce it now, is what I call the four-legged stool. Four-legged stools are really a better example of how businesses really kind of operate. People talk about three-legged stools, but I don't know, if I move left or right too hard in one direction, I'm falling off. The four-legged stool actually incorporates all those items that impact the business: finance, administration, management, and labor. What you do not have, and a lot of times are not able to see, is this wonderful piece right here: administration. And the thing about administration, really, quite honestly, was the fact you don't hear about it. We talk about management a lot of times. We don't actually talk about management. I mean, talk about administration. But administration sets the policies on which you actually operate under. Management just follows it. Labor implements it. And finance, it just lets you know, are you still going to be around? Now, I'm actually going to physically skip this page because I was actually going to write some stuff in here. But can anybody give me use of business funds? You're in business. So give me a use of business funds. Anybody?
Fixed cost overhead.
What else you got?
Salaries.
What else you got?
Supplies.
What else you got?
Support, technical support.
Okay, what else you got? Come on, give me the good stuff, folks. Anybody ever thought about their telephone?
Oh yeah, telephone, professional development, conferences.
What else
Yeah,
you got?
travel expenses.
All right, what else you got? You guys are working out of your homes a lot of times.
Yep, mileage. House.
What else?
Yes, utilities.
Yes, utilities. People seem to have forgotten about that piece.
Knowledge.
Education, that's correct.
Travel.
These are all, by the way, deductible items. But like I say, the tax conversation is for a later date. Working computers, yes. Equipment. These are the things that I want you to think about.
Yeah, the space you use to do your work.
Space you use out of a particular house based on a percentage of the entire valuation of the house? Yes. Loans and liabilities and rent, correct.
Professional fees, accountants, consultants.
Yep,
Correct.
yep, it's true.
All of that stuff is a part of the business. Now, I'm going to summarize a lot of what you just said into 4 categories. And the categories are primarily this: payment of your employees, paying your operational expenses, which are the phone, gas, light, rent, travel, education, equipment that you need, supplies, not just for possibly doing, and I'm using you as an example, Lamar, as opposed to supplies for actually doing the planting and things of that nature, but you also, in theory, have an office. So maybe it's a matter of getting stamps, sending correspondence out, buying paper for the printer, things of that nature. Paying operational debt. Most of us actually have operational debt, which is also personal debt, because this is how we started the business. But you need to be very clear that good, bad, or indifferent, you need to be able to handle that particular debt, and then paying yourself. And as I tell people, in the end, if you can actually pay yourself and you don't have an issue with paying yourself in the end of the day, because everything else above it is being handled, you're doing good. But in order to pay yourself, you need an idea of how much it's actually costing you to live on an average daily basis. And so as a future project piece, I want people to actually begin to start taking a look at that and writing that down. How much are you spending on an average monthly basis to live? And this includes everything. For individuals who are partnering the household expenses or whatever, technically you're going to do one that includes everything. And then you're going to
Can you
pull out
repeat that, please? I'm sorry.
that. You're going to do a household expense. What does it cost you to live on an average monthly basis? And for individuals who, like, they tell me, oh, yeah, I don't buy clothes for the children to Christmas or the school starts and stuff like that. Break it up. Divide it by 12. Whatever, think about what you spend all in all for the year, if that's the case. Divide it by 12. How many gifts are you buying for family members, for purchases for birthdays and weddings, and how many concerts? Well, we're not going to too many nowadays, but how many concerts do you think you're actually going to go to?
I'll be at the Versus concert every Saturday, Friday.
What's that?
So I'll be at the Versus concert every weekend.
Wow.
I hear the bell. Gladys Knight tore it up.
All right.
Okay, now.
Wow. But I want you to think about that, because guess what? This is money you spend. And where is that money supposed to be coming from? Supposed to be coming from the business. If you happen to be a person that is employed and you have a business, at some point in time, the business should be able to generate the kind of money that actually replaces or gives you the consideration of, you know what, I think it's time for me to leave my job. And there are some special considerations there. It's not just the fact, ooh, you know, I carry home $1,000 paycheck a month and I'm making $1,000 from my business, so I need to quit. No. There are a couple other costs that are actually in there that you need to think about. And again, we'll talk about that in a future piece. Now, NAICS. Some of you knew what NAICS was, North American Industrial Classification System. The NAICS code has become dual purposed for me as I actually teach a lot of people. Number one, you should look up your NAICS code and figure out exactly what it is. Anybody that's actually going for MWBE certification, what you need to do is you need to have an idea of what your code actually is, because the request for what your business does is actually one of the questions associated with any certification. And it's a heck of a lot easier and it's clearer to be able to give them the NAICS code instead of your own definition of what you do. But what the NAICS will actually do for you as well is it will also and can also be used as defining what your business does as a matter of description. And this is what I'm talking about. Oh, Lamar, we got this just up for you. Okay. So, landscaping services. And what's it say here? Snore, snore, snore. Establishments primarily engaged in providing landscape care and maintenance services and or installing trees, shrubs, plants, lawns, or gardens. Whew, I'm tired. Is anybody else tired? That's long. That is so long and a little confusing. Now, what if you just said, our business or company is primarily engaged in providing landscape care and maintenance services. Oh, and by the way, we do cutting grass, trimming trees and shrubs, some landscape architecture. Does that sound better?
Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt you, but is it supposed to be something on your screen? Because I see nothing.
Okay. Yeah, let me pop out of it and pop back in. Can you see what I have now?
No, not at all.
Not at all? Okay.
Yeah, you're not sharing your screen.
So let's change this up a little. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Now? Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah, I love technical difficulties. Alrighty. This is the screen I had beforehand. The long definition I just ran out for landscaping services. This is the new one. Simpler, shorter, sweeter. And the 3 items down here, these actually this becomes your hook. You draw people in. Oh, landscape services, what do you do? Well, I cut grass. I trim trees. We also have a landscaping architecture component. Those are the things that hook people in. As a matter of fact, what we're going to do in one of our sessions in talking about your story, I'm going to introduce you guys, for those who already don't know, an aspect of what's considered the introduction pitch. And we'll actually bring a lot of these elements together. So again, which one is actually simpler? Number 1 or number 2? You can put it in the chat. Oh, to answer your question, Sydney, your 3rd one is operational debt, and the 4th one is yourself. Yes, also, Barbara asked a question. Yes, vets also. There is normally a requirement of what the services that you actually provide. And Lamar, you actually give me a call at some point. I'm gonna challenge you on the aspect, because you say you saw your salary for all of last year. But that you're working another job as well, is that what it is? Lamar? All right, well, we'll get back to Lamar in a moment. All right, next item up for bid. So how many of you put a thumbs up or a yes in the chat, know what your NAICS code actually is? How many people are we getting? I'm seeing a couple of them. No, no, yes. Don't know. Okay. So, looking up NAICS. Now I want to see if I can actually get this particular side done. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. This is a screen that should pop up if you put in NAICS.com. And you will notice in NAICS.com, on the top bar on the right, it says find your NAICS code. If you click that, you actually get this screen. And again, I'm going to put in landscaping, since that's the theme we're working with today. And I'm hitting NAICS search. And what does it say? 561730, landscaping services. This particular one actually identifies snow plowing services as well as landscaping services. These are the common words, however, used in that definition. But if you click NAICS, here's the definition that I actually gave you. And I only gave you one of the 2. But you see how long this is? So you go to a networking event and somebody says, oh, what do you do? Well, I do landscaping, maintenance services, installing trees, shrubs, plants, lawns, gardens. We also are engaged in snow removal services. We also do landscaping around construction, walkways, retaining walls, fences, ponds. You're gonna knock them out. So this is one of the reasons why you want to be very clear and look up that NAICS code. Everybody got that? Thumbs up, please. All right, let's go back to our presentation. Everybody can see my screen. Now, anybody got any questions offhand? Anybody?
Mr. McCarley, there's a question that says, does this run in line with the business code on taxes?
Okay, let me stop laughing here. The taxes, let me put it this way. IRS functions in its own particular manner. When you actually are doing your numbers and books, you technically need to be very clear that you're operating under two different books. The one is internal, which is definitely going to collect all of the items with regard to your expenses and relative revenue. However, under IRS, and if you actually take a look at the Schedule C, or if you happen to be a multi-member LLC or an S Corp, you actually are going to fill out actually a different tax form, just like with the C Corporation. So I would actually pull up those particular forms, even if it was from last year. You can go online and pull up, 2020 C Corp tax form. And you'll notice the items that are actually listed on that form in and of itself. And then you have other. If you actually do, because that form is called, it's an 1120S. 1120, I'm sorry, for the C Corp. It's 1120S for the S Corp. You're doing, for a single owner LLC, you're actually using a Schedule C, just like you'd use a Schedule C for a DBA. What you have to be clear on is the fact that however you normally establish your business outside of being a DBA, you need to ask permission from IRS to, or actually tell them, I wish to be dealt with as a single owner, or it's a detached LLC. That's a single owner LLC. You're considered detached, which is why you can put your information on a Schedule C, which is a part of your personal taxes. But you have to ask IRS that you can do that, because if you don't, what IRS will do is assume that your LLC is actually larger than it is. And you'll actually then be considered as a partnership. Now, New York State does not recognize the singular tax platform running through your personal taxes. They consider you as a part of a partnership, and that's how New York State will actually tax you. As an S corporation, what ends up happening is your stuff again goes through your personal taxes, but you're filling out a totally different tax form. There is not an alignment that exists with IRS and the business and the legal structure you set up for your company. You have to be very clear, one, on what you're setting up, and number two, exactly what you're asking for when it comes to how you would like to be taxed. And my best thing is find yourself a good accountant, a spectacular bookkeeper, or a tax attorney. So I hope that answered the question. It was a little convoluted, I have to admit. I apologize for that. Because understanding taxes and how you deal with them based on what money you actually make is actually a really interesting thing. I prepare taxes and also even without an LLC. You have to report your income. Yes, that is true. But that's also an interesting conversation to have with a lot of people, because one of the reasons why people seem to not establish some of the businesses in the manner that they should is because, quite honestly, they don't want to pay taxes. And my thing is this: it's the cost of doing business. The number one thing that made it enormously difficult during COVID was that individuals did not have the documentation, first of all, that was appropriate. And number two, most of them didn't make any profit whatsoever. So this is kind of a side question, but the reality gets to be this. Though we're offering loans to help during this particular crisis that you cannot pay for 30 years, and I'm primarily talking about the Small Business Administration's Economic Injury Disaster Loan. The reality is, if you have no profit in the company, how exactly are you going to repay the loan? They don't care about the personal component, because it's the business that supposedly has made the application for the request. So a lot of times we don't think about it, and a lot of times other people are not told about it. Okay. Yes, I agree with you, Krista. Find yourself a very good bookkeeper. Accountants actually cost a little money, and tax attorneys are even more expensive. But don't be afraid to spend money for your business. It's necessary. It really is. If we don't spend money for our businesses, how in heck do you expect to grow? That's like putting a plant in the ground and not providing any fertilizer or water. It'll get sun, and it might get water if it happens to rain. But you need to constantly keep that balance in play so that plant will grow. Same thing with a business. You have to understand the elements and components of the business so that the business also grows. Now, I'm gonna classify this as part 2, and I'm gonna run through this pretty quick because my time is running short. What's it actually going to cost? And for those that are in business, what is it actually costing you now? This is something that I want you to think about for the session that we're actually going to do 2 weeks from now. And I want you to really take a look at those costs. I want you to put down your costs, because I'm going to challenge some of you on that particular day about the money that you're not only just spending, and not that you're spending it, but to be aware how it impacts your revenue. Now, for those individuals that are new, you know, you're putting new stuff together. So you need to take a look at costs to start the business, the cost to operate the business, the cost to maintain the business, and the cost for the future. And if you'll notice to the left, I have this wonderful little diagram, and it's 0, because that's where you're at this particular point. You're just putting together the numbers to figure out exactly what's going on and what you need. Does everybody understand that one? Give me a thumbs up, please. All right, got a couple thumbs up, or put in the chat that you actually get it. Okay, got a couple. Put in the chat, people. Next item up for bid. If you're already in existence, what's it costing you now? You have costs to operate, you have costs to maintain, and you have costs to create a future. The last two, I've been doing this for 40 years, people. The last 2 items are not anything I've actually ever heard in anybody's presentation that talks about their business and what people need to take a look at with regard to their business. But you'll notice to the left, I have 5X. So you're already in business, you're moving forward. You should have a 1, 3, 5, and 7 and 10-year markers. But from when you start the business, and at least at year 5, maybe 6, are you generating 5 times the revenue that you were generating when you started? And I'm going to assume that you were actually keeping your costs together. Are you generating 5 times as much money as you started? And I'm not talking about I made $5,000 the first year and I made $25,000 6 years later, because that means you're not growing. I'm talking about year over year. Are you ultimately doing 5 times as much? Everybody get that? Thumbs up or make a comment. Next item up for bid, expansions. You're already in business. You have secured or are securing the product or service in which you're actually selling. But you'll notice the bag is off the charts here. It's over the roof, okay? Because you have cost to expand. There's a cost to operate. There's the cost to maintain because of the new expansion. And the cost to what? Support the future. Why? Because one of two things will actually happen. You'll sell the business or you'll close the business. So again, 7x, 7 times over and over the previous year's component. Are you at a 7x mark? This is when you're doing substantially well. Like I said, your business expenses, you're the last person being paid, but you're paying yourself to live comfortably, but everybody in the lines above also are being satisfied. And you have employees. You can never be a big business or what's classed as a business owner unless you have employees. And last item up for bid is your exit strategy. Like I said, you're going to close it or you're going to sell it. I didn't talk about the legacy component because that's handled slightly a little differently. But now you've got costs to analyze the exit, costs to stabilize operations as you get ready to exit, costs to transfer operations and maintenance, and the cost to leave. But you will notice on the left-hand side, I said 10x. And why is 10x so important? Well, right here, you notice the bag of money shrunk a little. These are the items that fall into play to maintain, to continue the operation. But this piece up here, with your golden dollar sign, this is what you're taking with you. But this particular cost, and this is just my personal perspective, should be almost 10 to 15 years worth of living expenses to exit the business. Because by the time you exit this business, if you've held on to it at least for 20 years, you're running close to retirement age if you're not already retired. So does everybody get that? Give me a thumbs up, please. Mark in the chat. I want to see how many people are still with us here. I'm not seeing a whole lot of thumbs, folks. Or mark in the chat. Got 33 people on here and I got like 8 responses. I want to thank you guys for letting me at least do this part of the presentation. We got a lot more stuff that's coming up for the next weeks in hand. And so, Adam, it's all yours.
Well, Mr. McCarley, that was great. This is the second time I've viewed the presentation, and I've gotten a lot of stuff out of it both times, so I'm sure I'll go through it again as we prepare to send it out to everybody. Again, this is going to come out to everybody through email in the next couple days, so you guys will be able to go back through it again and watch it. You can look at the slides and go to YouTube and watch the full presentation with Mr. McCarley again here in the next few days as that goes out before session 2. Another thing you guys should know is before several sessions, we will be sending out our typical email, but in this email, you will have, for a few of them, you'll have actual documents you'll be able to access for the upcoming class session. So you'll be able to see those documents and have them prepared and ready to go when we start on the following Monday. So keep your eyes open for that, and we'll have those out to you guys. Before we wrap up, we've got a couple more things we want to do, and I know that Dion has something exciting she wants to present and make available to everybody here in just a second. So Dion, I will pass this along to you now.
Thanks, Adam. And Michael, thank you for a great first class. I think everybody learned something from today's class, and I absolutely love the participation. Before I make my exciting announcement, I would like to ask folks to change their names. If your name is showing up as your area code or the the model of your phone number or Kay's iPhone, please right click or just put your cursor on your photo. At the top of the Zoom toolbar, you'll see 3 little dots. You click on those 3 little dots. You'll get several options. One of them is to rename. Please select rename and rename yourselves as the name you use to register. If you would do that for us, that would be a big help to ensure that we're accurately recording all of our attendees. Thank you. Okay, so for my really big excitement, drum roll, we're going to be giving away 3 copies of the books that that Michael mentioned today. So just a reminder, Michael mentioned Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the Magna Carta of Exponentiality, and the E-Myth Revisited. So we have a little competition, and I'm going to throw up, we're going to pick 3 people. So pay attention. I'm going to throw up a poll right now, and you're going to have about 2 minutes to complete the 4 questions. Your responses cannot be anonymous, so you have to type your name in. You could just type your first name. If it's anonymous, we won't be able to pick you if you're one of the 3 winners. So here we go. Can everybody see the poll on their screen?
Yes.
Great. I don't see anybody answering.
I don't see it on my end, Dion. And it looks like someone in the chat just said that theirs disappeared.
Huh. Okay. Jahida, can you see the poll? It says class quiz.
No, not right now.
Nope, all I see is a Papstone logo.
Okay, I see some folks finally starting to answer. Some folks are finally starting to answer.
I got it. You got to tap on the poll in progress.
Remember to type your name in. We've got 30 more seconds, folks, and then we'll wrap up the poll.
Yeah, there's a couple people that are having issues with the poll. It's not letting them submit. Or it says they don't see a place for their name.
For those of you who aren't able to submit, make sure you're answering 4 questions and not just 2. There's a little scroll bar on the side. I know it's really basic, but it's something that we have had people miss in the past. So you should be answering 4 questions.
So we're going to give everybody another 40 seconds to complete this. There seems to be some confusion. And if you didn't see a place to put your name, Zoom will tell us who gave us the answers. So don't worry about that. And I'm going to wrap up the poll in 3, 2, 1. Thank you guys so much for answering our poll, and we will be in touch with the 3 winners, and we will ask you which of the 3 books you would like as your prize. Again, the books are The Magna Carta of Exponentiality by Vusi Tembequayo. I hope I didn't say his name incorrectly. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, What the Rich Teach Their Kids About Money That the Poor and Middle Class Do Not by Robert T. Kiyosaki, and The E-Myth Revisited by Michael E. Gerber. Thanks, everybody. Back over to you, Adam.
Thank you, Deanna. I'm excited. I wish I could enter that contest because I love the E-Myth. I've read it a few times. It's a great book, and I know Rich Dad Poor Dad is a staple as well. So, and then the Magna Carta of Exponentiality, I've heard of that. So, any of those books are going to be great for you guys who win. So, I do want to give Duncan another minute to talk about the social media contest. So, Duncan, do you want to take a minute and kind of shout that out again and tell everybody what the parameters are?
Yes. Just so y'all know, as far as books go, everybody who stays with this next level and completes it will get a copy of my book as well. So everyone who completes this training, it's a book on resilience called Rerouting. So look forward to that as you all continue to finish this training series. And I just want to say, I know nobody from Pathstone wants to talk about it, but the purpose of us doing these trainings is not just to feel good. Okay, Pathstones is bringing these trainings to y'all so that we can grow these businesses in our community. So when we get on these trainings, you should be taking notes like crazy. And then next week, have a bunch of questions for the next presenter and be ready. Because at the end of the road, we want this. The reason I got involved with Pathstone is when I found out, they said, oh, we do lending to Black-owned businesses. I said, what do you mean? They said, we do lending and we're not a bank, so we have better rates and we have more discretion because we're a nonprofit, so they can help work with the businesses of $500,000 to $250,000. I said, wait, what? For Black businesses? They said, yes. I said, and you gonna help them do their business plan? They said, yes. And you gonna help them fix their credit? They said, yes. I said, we gotta get this out. People gotta know about this. So I just don't want y'all I don't want y'all to feel like oh, here goes another call, another Zoom call, another where y'all zoomed out. No, we here because we at some point want you to leave your regular job and your business become your full-time job with a bunch of employees. So that's where this is going. So anyway, let me shut up. All right, social media competition. So to enter the competition, as soon as this call is over, send Yahira an email with your business name, the full name of your business, and then either your logo or a picture of yourself or a picture of your business, some type of image. Yahira is going to put all the images on different posts. So it might be 20 different posts, and it'll be your image with your name, somebody else's image, Krista's image, Eric's image, Ebony's image, all these different images. And so she's going to send that. So you're going to send her the image and the name. Tomorrow morning, she's going to email you and say, we're good to go. She's going to send you all 6 Pathstone social media pages. To get a point, all you got to do is have your friends, family, whatever, share it on social media, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and say, like the page. So like Pathstone's page, and then like your picture. Then they go over to Biz Up Buffalo. Like Biz Up Buffalo's page, and then like your picture. That's 2 votes. Go to Instagram. Follow Pathstones on Instagram. Like your picture. That's 3 votes. Follow Biz Up Buffalo on Instagram. Like your picture. That's 4 votes. Follow Pathstones on Twitter. That's 5. Y'all get the message. Y'all get what we're doing here, okay? So it's 6 channels. Yahira's going to send you all 6, and we're just going to see who can get the most votes, right? How many of y'all? So you just commit some time, share it on your page. Yo, auntie, like this page. Cousin, do this. You just keep going, get the most, and the first place is going to get $1,000 in personal technical assistance for their business. Now, I saw somebody put in the chat earlier, I need a one-to-one call. Well, that one-to-one call will go from a nice little call with Dion to an hour-long consultation with a company for free. It'll go to an hour-long financial training for free, right? So Pathstone is going to sponsor that up to $1,000 of technical assistance for your business. And 2 second-place prizes will be $500 worth of technical assistance each. That's pretty dope, right? Like and then now here's the thing, y'all. Now you got to come back next Monday to see who won. You know what I mean? You got to see how you did. So come back next Monday, be here on time. And with that, I'll shut up and kick it back over to Adam.
Duncan, thank you so much for the information and also for bringing the energy level up from where I start. So that's love having Duncan around. It's a lot of great information, a lot of great energy. So we do have, I know we're a little past time, so I'm going to be kind of quick about how we wrap up here. I'm going to see if it'll allow me to share my screen so we can look at a couple of things here before we get out. Keep in mind that this Thursday and next Thursday we have Tech Talks where we will be talking about social media with David Simons, talking about social media for your business. And then the 2 Wednesdays after that, to wrap up Tech Talks, we're talking about website development and content management with Mike at View Signage. Also, the small business forums start on October 2nd, and those are going to be every other Friday at 11 a.m. And the first one, again, is a nonprofit panel, a panel with nonprofit experts and executives who will be there to kind of talk you through what it means to start a nonprofit, why you should start a nonprofit, and to give you some advice in doing that. But what everybody here is excited about is next Monday, which is the second class session of the next level here with Mr. McCarley and Pathstone Enterprise Center. So make sure you're ready for that. You're here at noon next week, and we'll send you out an invite here or a reminder email in the next few days, and then you'll also get one 24 hours and an hour before. So you'll get a follow-up here in a few days. But like we say every week, since we can't be with you to fellowship and to communicate in person, we do want to go ahead and give you lunch on us. So for those of you in Buffalo, we have 2 options for lunch this week: Sunshine Vegan Eats and Freddie J's Barbecue. So if you're in Buffalo, you have those 2 options. And in Rochester, there's El Pilon Criollo and the Arnett Cafe. Please tell us where you want to eat. In the chat box, tell us where you want your food voucher to, and we will send those food vouchers out in the next couple days. And one day this week, lunch is on Pathstone. We'd love to do that. We know that we really miss seeing you guys face to face and all being in the same room and being able to share a meal together and have that fellowship and engagement with our neighbors. So we want to do lunch on us this week. And so if you guys will put that in there, I'll give you guys a few more minutes here. But keep in mind that, again, Monday, class 2, you'll be getting some information before class in a follow-up email that'll you'll want to look at and download and make sure that you have that available as you come into class next Monday. Not necessarily homework, but just documents you want to have on hand. So as we go through the class session in the coming weeks, you have that information available to you. Looks like you're getting some pretty good chat responses here. Again, if you, again, this is a free meal on us. So please put in the chat where you'd like to eat. And with that, if there are no questions or comments or concerns, we're going to go ahead and let you guys get back to your day. Thank you for staying over with us a couple minutes. And as always, if you guys want to get in touch with us, there are myriad ways to do that. You get an email from us, and you have all of our contact information. We'd love to talk to you. But until next week, guys, thank you so much for being engaged and sticking around. And Mr. McCarley, as always, thank you so much, sir. Big round of applause for you. And I'm looking forward to the next several weeks here just as a student, as well as a member of the Pathstone team. So thank you, everybody. And we will see you next Monday at noon.
Take care, everybody.